So you work a full-time job, but you also want to day trade. Before we even start this video, do not quit that 9-to-5 job. I just want to give a piece of advice. That was a mistake I made. I quit way too soon. It was an impulsive decision after a few lucky wins, and I eventually found myself in a sticky situation. I did make it work, but I just want to say, build your nest egg. Do not quit. It will take the stress off, which in the long run will help you just learn better and become a better trader versus just having to do it because you have no other option or no other choice. The little pep talk's over. Today we're going to talk about how you can in fact day trade even if you work a full-time job, because the first 3 years of my trading career I did both, and I had a side hustle little business on the side, so I was just extremely busy and I was doing it all and balancing it pretty well, but I learned some tips and tricks along the way that I want to share with you guys. As always, we're going to dive right in so I don't waste your time. The first thing that you're going to want to do is you need to prep ahead of time. So whether that looks like the night before or the morning before, you have got to plan your levels on the stocks that you're watching, and you really need to just be prepared before market opens. If you cannot watch the screens all day long and you don't understand what a stock is doing when it's at a certain level, is that weak or is that strong, you're going to have a very hard time being consistent, and you're just going to come in impulsively and make a bad decision. So it is very key that you learn to prep ahead of time, find those levels based off your strategy that you're using. After you prep and you have your notes, so for me, I have little yellow legal notepads that you see in all my TikTok videos. For me, I just like those, are cheap, but whatever you do, get a notebook, get a journal, and plan those levels ahead of time. And after you do that, the second part to this is really key. Make sure that you only are watching a handful of stocks. I see this mistake all of the time. You get too excited, not you, but most traders, most new traders get so excited that they are just watching 30, 40 different stocks, trying to find those big volatility runners of the day, the ones with the big news or the gap ups in pre-market, all of that. And I'm here to tell you that that is a mistake if you work full time. Zone in on a handful of stocks, no more than that, and learn their patterns. What does it look like when they're having a very good day and a very bad day? I already know people are going to ask. So for example, I like to trade things like SPY, IWM, and Apple are 3 great ones that I could consistently trade every single day. I've learned their patterns very well, just like if you're in a relationship and you get to know a person after being with them every single day, you know when they're in a bad mood. So think of stocks the exact same way. Okay, so you've got your handful of stocks, you've built your watch list, and every single night or morning, you're prepping those levels and you're prepping ahead of time, right? You're getting super prepared. But you've done all that. Now, what strategy can you possibly use that will help you if you do work full time? And this is actually pretty funny because if I think back, it was a blessing in disguise. So I was a gym manager pretty much my entire career before trading. I worked in the health and fitness industry, personal trainer, all of that stuff. And I had the most availability midday. So I was the busiest when the market opened. So I was not able to trade the most volatile time, which is the first hour of the day. And I thought I was missing out on so much, which sometimes I was missing out. However, I quickly learned that that was actually the time of day where I was the worst. It was too volatile, too unpredictable. It just was too fast for me. And I did not do well. I didn't have the reaction time that I needed to play that first hour successfully. And with my job, I was forced to not play it. I had to figure out a way and strategies that would fit my lifestyle, which was, around 11 o'clock. So after that first hour, so around 10:30 to 11, I was finally able to look at the screens and see what was going on. And especially into my lunch break was where I developed my most solid strategy, which is actually pretty simple. And it's lunch reversals or the lunch break strategy. And in order for me to show this to you guys, I'm a visual learner. I'm sure a lot of you are too. So let's hop on over to Thinkorswim and I'll show you an example from this past week. So first, before we go over an example of this strategy, I'm sure you can see this clean break right here is going to be the example I'm going to show you guys. I do want you to understand what timing the market looks like and overall just rotation of timing throughout the day. So for example, the first hour of the day is the most volatile. That's usually the most volume. That is where traders are most active. This, in my opinion, I've mentioned this, I think I mentioned this earlier, but this was something that I personally had to avoid because when I was working full time, this was when I was busy at work and it was just not ideal for me to trade the first hour. And for the longest time, I was like, oh, I'm missing out on so much because I know all the traders usually trade that first hour. However, it is so volatile that personally still until this day, I usually avoid the first hour of the day and I make most of my money towards the later half, midday or end of day. what I want you guys to understand is the first hour of the day is typically where you will see trend develop. So the traders who are trading are going to be playing that trend. This trend right here on this day was down. We were making lower highs and we were making our way back to the low of day that printed around 10 o'clock. Now, what most traders do, and it's a big mistake, is they'll come in on their lunch break around lunchtime and they'll try to play continuation on trend. That is a huge mistake, because you have to think about all the people that were playing trend from the first hour of the day into lunch are then going to be taking profits to go on their lunch break. And honestly, I always make a joke that I think algos also take a lunch break, because that is traditionally where we see the lower volume in the middle of the day. But this is also where we can see reversals happen, because again, you have to think this right here, eventually the people who are playing this trend is eventually going to reverse and they're eventually going to take profits. You can see this played out perfectly. Downtrend was intact until we broke right here, and look at timing. Heading right into lunch, there was a perfect reversal opportunity that if you were trying to play trend coming into lunch, you would have gotten honestly a horrible entry and either stopped out or you would have been down pretty largely. But you had to realize that that trend had already played out from the morning. Your risk versus reward is no longer worth it. Therefore, you should be waiting for reversals. If you don't get a reversal, okay, you don't trade that day. But this simple strategy was what I used for honestly the first couple of years. I was using it on penny stocks, the high volatility runners in the morning. I was waiting for them to cool off midday, and then typically we would see some shorts cover into end of day. And then I also carried that over into my options trading. And it is still till this day one of my favorite strategies and ones that I use the biggest size on. It is very simple. It literally is just you trying to catch the reversal going into lunch off the morning move. So if we were going down, you're trying to catch the reversal up. If we were going up, you're trying to catch the reversal down. And it does not happen every single day. There's not always a reversal. There's ways to tell. There's extra things that you can layer on and different indicators. And there's other things you always want to layer on. You never want to use something singularly. You always want to have layers like a cake, right? Nobody likes one layer plain cake. I mean, maybe you do. But the whole point is this is just a base to get you started. It's an idea for you to start looking, especially during your lunch break. So if you work full time, you can still have a strategy that will fit your schedule. And as I always like to do, we can go look at a quick example of what calls did that day. So we're going to go look at the ones expiring this week. So let's go look at the BABA. We have some pretty high open interest on the 120s. Let's right click that and let's go look and see what they did. So the BABA 120 calls on this little move right here at around 12 o'clock, which was right in here. So this was the 12th and this was 12 o'clock. They went from $78 per contract all the way up to almost $1.10. So that is a very nice gain for just coming in off your lunch break. That trade should have taken you, I mean, it started at 12 o'clock and then ended at 12:30. So that was a 30-minute trade. Even if you held that long, you didn't have to hold that entire time. That could have been a 15, 20-minute trade while you were in line waiting for lunch. So just a starter for you guys. I hope this was helpful, an idea to throw out. Like I said, I just want to reiterate the fact that I always suggest layering on different strategies. Don't just look at something just because it's 12 o'clock and just because it's beaten down and think, oh, it's automatically going to reverse. No, there's things that you need to look for. There's indicators you can use. Make sure you understand market structure, trend, all of those things, market conditions, and pre-plan your levels, because if you can combine them with very key levels, that could be a very, very dangerous strategy in a good way. If you guys want more support, more strategy, more education, all of that good stuff, make sure to check out the membership options down below. Have an awesome community that is founded on education, and I have tons of information like this that goes into way more detail, and an awesome community that we share trade ideas daily. So if you're interested in that, check the description box. I also have a free day trading seminar and some other freebies that you can check out. If you want to say hey to me on a daily basis, I post more on Instagram, so go check that out. Please ignore all scammers. I do not trade crypto, and I will never direct message you. With that being said, I will see you guys next week.